Hi and welcome to episode 15 of Every Semicolon. This episode I'm going to work on the this crashing issue we've got. Difficult to reproduce, probably. No, not reproduce, but difficult to fix because we're not getting an error, it's just freezing. So that's going to make it hard to debug. So it sort of has it looks like it's an infinite loop, something like that. So we're going to try to first find out what it is and then fix it. I have a bit of background noise going on at the moment, so I'm just going to leave a few seconds of silence here so I can, if I need to, if the noise is noticeable, I'll do some noise reduction and stuff before I upload the video. So it's a few seconds now of silence. Okay, so that then I can use a program like Audacity or something to then use those few seconds of silence to determine the noise I want to remove from the track, and then I can do that if I need to. Okay, so let's just start it up. And I have on another monitor I have the task manager process list all ready to go. So when this does freeze, I can end the process and restart Unity. So first thing we'll do is just reproduce it. So I believe it's just shooting the bolt, and yep. Okay, so the stats window is a good way of just seeing that it's frozen. All these numbers have stopped doing their thing, and now it's frozen. So I'm going to end the process. Alright, and reopen Unity. So the difficulties with this sort of error in Unity is that I can't do script debugging. And okay, I can use mono-develop and do script debugging that way, and that might be something we have to do later on. I prefer not to use mono-develop at all. So for now, let's just see if we can figure it out. At that point in time, the only thing different going on I can think of off the top of my head when I'm shooting the bolt is that there's the camera stuff happening. So camera manager has late update. Yeah, so so it's following an object and it's looking at the object. Let's just for a moment comment this stuff out. And see what happens. So the best thing to do when debugging something like this is to just narrow things down, just take things out of the code until you find basically just keep taking things out until the problem doesn't occur anymore. So same sort of thing you do in many problem solving situations in real life. This is no different. Okay, so far so good. Let me try hitting one of the... Okay. So it doesn't seem to be happening. Let's try to reproduce it again. It's always good to not just rely on one attempt to determine whether or not you've had any success, because unless you've thoroughly tested it and you have a pretty good idea of the reproduction rate, you should at least try it two or three times. Okay, so that doesn't seem to be happening. So it's not necessarily this code. It could be something that happens in this code that then conflicts with something else in some other code. So maybe it's a couple of different things. But since it's freezing, one thing I can try to do is what's this called? Camera manager late update. Let's just put that up here. If I put some logs in different times throughout this method, I should be able to see when these logs should show up in the editor, and when it freezes, I should be able to see which was the last of these that was logged. So this might give me an indication of where, if it is within this X section, that it's having the problem. So you can see there, it's getting late update I because it's always finishing, obviously, that method within the frame. Okay, hasn't frozen, and frozen. Alright, so it's frozen there on, okay, so it has actually finished the method, unless there is a delay between the logging and the code occurring. Like, I don't think that's the case, so we'll just, for now, we'll just hope that it's not. So it seems to be finishing this late update. I believe that's the case. So from there, there's maybe, I don't know how many other late updates I have in updater. So camera manager, yep. Weapon. So weapon's the only one that has a late update. So we'll throw one in here too. Now, this will tell us if it's not the weapon late update. So the weapon late update is occurring after the camera manager late update. So if it's happening in that frame, then I don't believe I have any methods running after late update. Okay, so it's late update B still. So that probably tells me that it's not that frame, it might be the next frame. I don't think I have any on pre-renders or post-renders. And also, since I'm running in the editor, it could be an actual editor method. Like a gizmos, drawing gizmos or something like that, but then again I am in the game view when it happens, so it's less likely. I guess I don't know if all those run when you don't have gizmos turned on in the game view. Okay, so let's make a new level with less stuff in it, and we'll see if we can get it to happen first in that level. So we're in level 2 now. I'll just run it. Just make sure that we can reproduce the error in this one before I test anything else. Now, it's always good to, just try and reproduce it before you try to go down a path of fixing something, because even though all I've done is it's a different scene, there's really no difference besides the scene name. That's what happened there. It could be something very, very strange, and it's always good to just double check that your test environment is actually reproducing the error. Otherwise, you'll often, I think I've probably done this before, where I've gone down the path of trying all this stuff and thinking I've fixed it, and then realizing that no, I hadn't fixed it, it just wasn't occurring in that environment. So now we know that in level 2 it's happening. So I'm going to open level 2 and close Unity. And why I'm doing that is because whenever it crashes, it doesn't seem to save any of the project settings or the currently open scene. So now I can rely on, every time I start up Unity from here on, it's going to load into level 02, which is our test level. Just makes it a little bit quicker. Okay, I'm going to rename this just to so I can just see something there quickly. Make sure it's the right scene. Obviously, you can see the scene name up in the top left as well, but that's all within my typical view range. Alright, and I do apologize for any background noise that's coming through, and I will try to remove it. Okay, so let's start removing stuff from this scene. So our main camera has some scripts on it, camera handler. So camera handler is another thing that's running. Let's just quickly take out any of this. Let's just take out all of that, actually. So that's the stuff that when it collides with the sphere around the platform, it stops following and looking at the object and checks for idle blocks. Okay, so let's run that. Did I double check that I saved that? Alright, so off goes our bolt. And yep, frozen. Okay. So we can be fairly certain that the camera handler is not affecting it. So let's just start removing parts of our scene. Delete the clouds, delete the light. Managers has camera manager and game manager. We'll just leave both of those for the moment. Let's delete all the other platforms. Let's go to our level and just handle that. One weapon. Yep. Go to platform 1 and delete the dwarves. Let's also... The rock platform is nothing going on there. The ballista has a few different things. We've got side aiming, nothing out of the ordinary, no custom scripts. You've got object startup, animation stuff, cameras, and our ballista weapon script. I'll turn off projectile trajectory and let's give that a go. Now, I mean, doing something like deleting the light, obviously, I don't think the light's going to affect it, but I just like to keep the scene as clean as possible, remove as many objects as I can, while still being able to reproduce it. Okay, so hasn't happened yet. Let's try to move the camera back. That's interesting. I need to obviously got my camera going back, but it's then still trying to follow the object. So when I do my perspective change, I have to make sure it stops following whatever it's following. And also I'm going to have to delete the bolt when it reaches a certain distance. And some people might think that that's, I mean, I could probably just go, delete the bolt before it reaches some lower height, and then that might prevent this from occurring. But obviously, it's going to pop up again sometime later on. It's got to be fixed properly. So look, it's not happening anymore. So what does that mean? What have we turned off? We've deleted a whole bunch of stuff. So in some ways, I did that a little bit wrong, and it might have been better to delete things a little bit more piecemeal and just keep testing as I deleted one thing each time, and that would be the quickest way maybe to narrow it down. But I think for the most part I didn't delete anything that should have mattered, except for perhaps the number of weapons. So projectile trajectory is turned back on, and doesn't seem to be occurring. Huh. Okay. Let's try adding some more platforms. That's probably not the best way to do it. Use my do I have a platform prefab? No. Alright. 2, 3, 4. Alright. Go to level here, we're gonna expand that to 4. Grab our weapons. 2, 3, 4. Save that. What's this error? Projectile trajectory stuff. Okay. So if it occurs now, then we've narrowed it down to something to do with the number of weapons and perhaps the number of weapon scripts running or projectile trajectory scripts running. But it does not seem to be happening. Alright. Let's go and duplicate level 01 again. Now we're going to run level 03. Do the same thing again, delete, close that. Load it back up. Okay, I'm going to run it. Shoot. Just double check that this occurs, which it should, because it is just a straight copy of level 01 again, which has 100% of the time had the problem, and there it is. Okay, so level 03. What did we do? We deleted a whole bunch of stuff. Let's start doing it piecemeal. Delete all the clouds. Save that. Play. The clouds have a script on them, moving them, but I can't imagine that would affect anything. Okay, so that happened, so it's not the clouds. Okay, so we've got the light, delete that. Pretty certain it's not the light, but might as well just do this. Just be a bit patient. Debugging something like this can often just take a ridiculous amount of time. I mean, typically it's good to have a game plan and good to follow some typical sort of strategies for figuring this sort of thing out. And just delete one of the platforms, and not get carried away with just trying to do things or going down a thought pattern that like have a theory about what might be causing it and just waste a whole lot of time. It's good to just narrow it down, just reduce all possibilities. And I think that noise, the background noise, washing machine is probably getting pretty loud. So let me just have a few more seconds that I can use to isolate that sound. Okay, and with any luck, you guys will have no idea what I'm talking about with these sounds. So either it doesn't record them as much as I think it will, or I've done my noise reduction stuff effectively. My voice might sound a bit strange. I think noise reduction might sometimes obviously remove elements of the voice, but I don't think anyone's going to mind if that happens. So we're down to 2 weapons. It still happens. I'm really hoping I can get down to 1 weapon and still have it happen, because then, I mean, there's not really a whole lot that I've changed in the other scene from this level 3 that I can think of. I will just work through it. So we've got level platform 2, we'll delete that, save it, play it. 3, space. There's the dwarves. I think I deleted the dwarves, so that's a possibility. They're a new thing that was added, so it definitely could be it. Okay, so it's happened. So if it's the dwarves, that could be cool. But again, we did have that thing before. We do have in the back of my mind. I remember that. Hey, I did jump into the camera manager, and remove this stuff, and that stopped it stuffing up. So there's still something to look at down that path too. So anyway, dwarves. Could the dwarves be doing it? So what's our dwarves? What are they doing? We've got reassign bones, which happens once. We've got actor. Let me delete all but one of the dwarves. Save that and play it. Alrighty then. Yep. Okay. Oops. Alright. What I'm going to do is duplicate level 3. Open up level 4. Save that. Do my close. So I think level 3 is just on the breaking point. Just, you know, let's just see if I delete all my dwarves and play this one. Does it happen? Okay, still going, still going. Still going. Okay, let's try to whip back to the weapon. Okay. So it had been happening with 100%, 100% consistently. So let's jump back to level 3 because we seem to be at the point of accusing the dwarf. Let's turn off actor. Save that. Play. Now I don't know for what reason the shooting a bolt would have anything to do with a dwarf or vice versa, unless something in my script I don't remember. Okay, that doesn't seem to be occurring, does it? Stop that, turn on actor again, hit play, and just double check that this occurs. And we're hoping it does. Yep. Alright. Actor. Let's have a look. Okay. So vital animations at length, blah 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 blah. While it's playing, okay. So we could have an infinite loop. What we're going to do is just comment out this update. Just a thought I had is perhaps what's happening is the camera is getting so far away from the dwarf that it then changes something to do with how it's animating or rendering, or you know, it's not doing a certain animation update thing, or the skinning is not happening in such a way that it affects something to do with. What's he doing? Okay, so that's not happening, right? Jump back out. So what was happening in here? Time until idle change. If time until idle change is less than or equal to 0, I get a new random animation. So, okay, so this, theoretically, this is the infinite loop. Okay. So let's go to our dwarf man. Ah, bugger. I was in the wrong scene. And this is why I was doing that whole open the scene, close Unity, open it up again, because I don't want that to happen. So now we need to retest with all of this disabled again. And that was so we just wasted 30 seconds to a minute because I was testing the wrong thing because I hadn't been following my testing procedure that I'd sort of put in place. So yeah, testing is a bit of a a lot of the time people think of testing as a job for people in the games industry that don't have a lot of artistic or programming abilities. Also, it's a way of getting into the industry, sort of a leg in, a foot in the door. But there is actually quite a lot behind being a tester and doing it right, and being able to come up with good reproducible steps. Obviously, testers don't typically do this. This is a programmer testing sort of situation where debugging. Debugging is not really the same as game testing, but they have a lot of similarities in sort of the processes involved. Okay, so how could this be an infinite loop? Let's have a look. Our dwarf. He has two idle animations, idle 1 and idle sitting. So the idea was that it would continuously loop through all the animations until it found one that was not the current animation. So, oops. So in this case, idle random. So the ranges are ranges are 5 and 15. So it's crossfading. The default crossfade is 0.3 seconds. So by the time it comes around again, it should have crossfaded out. So neither or only one of the animations should be playing. But I think what we're finding is that both are playing. So let's investigate that a little bit. If num playing equals 0 for I is less than idle animations dot length. We'll do this test here. If it's playing that, then I'm playing plus plus. Now, if I'm playing it's greater than 1, debug.log, dwarf guy is playing two animations at the same time. Take that out. Take all that out. No, take that out. Alright. So, I have a good idea of sort of what it's going to be now, but let's just go through this process of I'm going to need to remove all of this. And weapons, remove these ones. Okay. I think I must have removed too much. Nope. Do that. You probably hear that noise. And I apologise for having the background noise, but this is a fairly open room that I'm in, and fortunately I don't really have tons of time to just pick and choose. Like when it's quiet, I normally do these videos, but sometimes I just want to do them. And this frame rate, rendering nothing, goes fast. Okay, that's cool. Start again. So it didn't actually have that log. It's not happening. Okay. Let's go back to our actor script. Two animations at the same time. I'm playing ++. So if it's playing that one, it adds to it. If it's playing the next one, it adds to it. If it's greater than 1, logs that. Whereas this thing was doing getting random range while animation component is playing neural idle animation loop. So it's not going to do it because I'm not doing the crossfade. Okay. Alright, this time we should see the log. It's one of the good things about having a formal testing cycle or automated testing. If you're in a company, having actual QA testers testing builds regularly, is that when a problem occurs, like this one, you have an idea of which build it occurred in, and obviously with a formally sort of documented and programming or development, you know what was added to each build, and it makes it a lot easier to track down what might be causing the problem, because you know what changes were made. Whereas in this situation, I didn't know when the problem had started, or if it had been there all along. So I had to look through everything to find what was causing the problem. Okay. So it's not having the error at the moment. So what does that mean? Num playing equals 0, so it runs through all the idle animations if it's playing them both. I'm playing ++. I'm crossfading to nothing. I don't want to do that. Actually, that's not necessarily happening, but okay. Let's just remove all of this for a moment and see if we can just straight up fix it. So go to our dwarf dude. All these animations on these objects playing automatically. None of that should matter, but let's double check. So got dwarf. Let's actually remove all of those, or do it in this script. Ah, shoot, I also have actor turned off. Let's add everything again. Alright. No wonder it wasn't logging. It's another situation where I got myself into where I was doing all this stuff to try and see if I'd fixed it or find the problem, narrow it down, but I was in a situation, in an environment where it wasn't actually occurring, the problem wasn't occurring because I had actor deactivated. So before I did all that little bit of coding stuff, I should have checked to see if the problem was occurring. I'm still not getting the log though, so that's not really ideal. Let's drop that back out. Let's get it occurring again. So, one thing you have on these objects, animation scripts, is culling type, and also on skin mesh render objects you have. Oh, it's happening. On skin mesh render objects you have an option for show it when it should be doing its skinning updates in terms of, again, culling sort of stuff. So you go to the body here and you see update when off screen. So basically, typically you're not going to want to update the skin mesh when it's off screen, because obviously you don't want to waste all that skinning time on something you can't see. But the reason you might want to do that is for I mean, there's all sorts of reasons. If you have a networked environment and one machine is doing all the skinning where another one's rendering it, then you're syncing the bones or something like that, or any sort of you want to know, or not syncing the bones, but or if you have a weird camera setup. I mean, there's a few different reasons to do it. Typically, for a single machine environment, single camera, single machine, nothing fancy, it's fine to leave it off. So a dwarf guy, his culling type is based on renderers. So what that means is when he goes off screen, it's not going to be doing these updates. Let's go into our actor and see if we can get one of these things to log. So this should still have the problem. Should still occur, but I'm just wondering if it'll log that thing before it does. It's annoying. So by the act of... oh no, here we go. It's happened, but we didn't get anything logged down the bottom. So he's not playing two animations at the same time. Well, if we can believe that this log is telling us what we think it is. So when he comes down here, it's still, I guess, saying that he's playing both animations. Let's just do a Alright, so what that means is it should only do it up to, well, it'll try this 10 times and then not do the loop again. We're logging out which animations it's trying, so it should give us an indication of what's going on, what's going wrong. So we're going to wait for that to say 10. Alright, so you see it tried these. Okay, so it is logging that. So that must mean that the logging stuff is a bit delayed. So even though it should have been logging that, it was then entering infinite loop here and didn't actually get time to print out the log. Okay. Attempt num tries. Let's just check if there's a way to detect if the animation component stores whether or not it's updating. Are we playing any animations? Culling type, local bounds, animate physics. So there's nothing there to determine whether or not it is currently playing or updating. So let's just see if the problem is something to do with that culling. So if I go to my dwarf dude and change that to always animate, let's see if we get to that attempt 10 again. Attempt 4, and theoretically we could get to attempt 10 because it is random. I mean, as I mentioned when I wrote that wrote that script, not really the fastest way to do it, but it just allowed it to handle any arbitrary number of animations without more complicated scripting. But this is, so this doesn't seem to be happening anymore. Okay, so it is based on the culling type. So when it goes and it's not updating, let's see if we can if it tells us anything about. When culling is enabled, Unity might stop animating if it thinks the results animation won't be visible to the user. This could save you some performance if you think things animating outside the environment. This animation is only important when the user actually sees blah blah blah. When animation component is culled, it won't do anything. It won't update animation state, execute events, or sample animations. I don't still know how to make that, how to tell if that's the case. It would have been good if I could just say, you know, if it's in that state of not updating, then don't worry, and then just, you know, put that in here. And you know, it is updating, then try again. Otherwise, just use whatever you found. What I'll do instead, there's probably not a whole lot of reason in this game to actually use animation culling, because 90% of the time, except for in that exact situation, you can see everything, and you want to be able to see all the animations, see little guys in the distance moving. So I have two options really. I mean, there's multiple options, but I could just leave something like this in, where it only allows it to happen 10 times, and I'll do something like, I'll leave that in anyway. I'll leave this in, and I'll put in, if num tries, just say I can catch it in the future if it happens again. It's greater than 10. Oh, it's equal to 10. Debug.log error. attempted to find non-playing idle animation 10 times. And if I see this pop up regularly, then what I'm going to do is change this, because it shouldn't have to do this 10 times. That would just be ridiculous. I think it's going to be pretty rare, more rare as there are more idle animations added. So that's sort of my theory, that this will be less of an issue, less of a sort of bad way of doing it once there's more idle animations. At the moment it's 50-50, so it'd have to do, you know, just like flipping a coin, getting heads 10 times in a row. Pretty unlikely, but still quite possible. But three-sided coin, it's going to be extremely unlikely. Okay, so that's one thing I'll do. So that will actually stop it from freezing, getting that infinite loop mode. But the other thing I'll do is I'll just revert that to the prefab, and I'm going to go to my actor script and yeah, the actor script. Animation component, and I'll just change that culling type to always animate. And while I'm here, I'll also go to reassign bones. And what have I got in my reassign bones? Those parents, yeah. So I'm going to add a bool, remove animation components from reassign objects before the tree. It's a long variable name, but I mean that's always not a bad idea. Well, not always, but not a bad idea. But sometimes it's not a bad idea, because yeah, I don't need to now put a comment because we know what that means, and it's still probably going to show up pretty much in the inspector, the sort of size I keep it. So what I'm going to do is run through all the reassign objects, blah blah. If that get the animation components, get component, and I'll destroy it. So all of our little dwarf bits and pieces, modular bits, no longer have that animation component, and our dwarf dude has always animate. So now we can just get out of that, and I'm pretty confident that I can delete these 3 scenes. Open up level 1, don't save that, and now we have our regular level 1 scene back in action. Go here and shoot, and now our blister bolt sales, and waiting. Seems to be fine. Alright. But now we've exposed a couple of other things within doing that we need to sort of fix up a little bit. So in Game Manager, when I do set perspective, I also want to make Camera Manager stop, following, stop looking at, and I'm going to want to destroy the bolt when it falls below a certain height. So my projectile bullet script can do that. Public float delete below height, negative 200, no, 300, whatever. I don't know, I'm not really sure, but we'll just try that. Let's do our cached transform. Got our cache transform. Okay, so if its position, its Y position is less than, delete below height, and I want to destroy the game object. So I think I'm going to get some null references in a sec. No null references. Okay, so I'm handling the follow being null, so that's cool. But well before that, I want to have the perspective go back to the weapon. So let's do. We've got shoot here, which is called by game manager. All right. Camera handler. Bring all this back in, and so what I want to do, screw all this stuff again, is if I don't actually go inside this sphere around the platform and check for idle blocks is never called, which is the one that sets perspective. Is it the only thing? Yeah. I want to do this anyway. I want to set perspective. So, camera handler. Does anything have a reference to camera handler? No. Let's make that happen. Oops. So what would be the best way to do that? The camera handler currently handles all that sort of stuff, and obviously if it does enter the trigger, then I want to stop the thing from resetting the camera. So I could do game manager dot cancel camera reset. So time after shooting to reset camera, seconds. So if we shoot and miss, we'll say about 8 seconds. We'll tweak that. Afterwards, that we'll reset, and then we'll do a bool camera check. Okay. If reset camera check we need a float in seconds. We're going to set that when we shoot. So let's just go to our shoot. That equals it's true. and we want to subtract delta time from that while it's happening, while we're actually checking for the reset, and I keep forgetting to put in semicolons now. So reset camera, okay, so if that goes below 0, we're going to reset the camera, which is setting the perspective to perspective. Right. We need this method here, cancel camera reset. We're going to throw that in here. Alright. Shoot. I think that's probably hit the sphere anyway, so that's probably fine. But if it hadn't, and we can throw in the if it hadn't by doing that, and just double check that that worked. 8 seconds probably a bit too long, but anyway. Much too long. And our camera speed, changing perspective speed, is far too slow. That's ridiculous. Yeah, something's not right about that. Alright, let's just go and change our default values and then change it on our game manager to 4 seconds. And we'll just reset that value. Alright, so that works well. Oops. Okay, no more error. We have our little doodad. I need to set the initial doodad setting to whatever the weapons is, and I need to handle that case of this thing changing sizes like this, which I've mentioned, so I'll get around to that as well. But for now, we seem to have our ballista stuff acting fairly well. Doing all its animations, tilting, so that's pretty cool. And our little dwarf men are still in there playing their animations. Standing up, sitting down. This should not be visible right now. So that's one thing we're going to have to fix up while I think of it, while I remember it. So last episode we added that stuff, and we tried to do this. So show side aim false. You deselect the weapon. Okay. I also need to do it at the additional time that's happening for top aim. Okay. And now we have no side aim stuff showing. So that's pretty sweet. Okay, I still want to make it. So there's a few little tweaks, a few little adjustments here and there right now that I can think of. I don't want this episode to be entirely debugging, but I mean it's not too bad to. I mean that debugging didn't go as poorly as I thought it might have. Quite difficult to do that sort of thing because again, you know, without proper, you know, script debugging stuff, and again, you know, Unity does have mono develop, and you can do step through sort of debugging with that, but mono develop has so many downsides that it's hard to just even want to use it in that situation for me personally. But you know, techniques like what I did, I think that went fairly well. I think that was probably couldn't have gone too much better. That's a good way just to figure things out. And if you have a process like that of stepping through, trying one thing at a time, just process of elimination, and you don't get ahead of yourself or do anything silly, and you focus on doing it exactly right, then you're gonna get results. Yeah, it's sometimes it'll be hours, sometimes it'll be minutes. But if it's something that could be a whole lot of things and you don't know what it is and you need to track it down, then definitely having a debugging process and following it, and yeah, that's the way to go. Okay. So I want to make sure, so when I press the spacebar, I don't have to be in that perspective to shoot, because there's no reason for that. The shooting, we want to reset camera. Camera to back to the weapon after a bit. Okay. So now I should be able to shoot from this perspective as well, and that way it gives us a chance to show off the animation stuff a bit more. So I can get down here. So that's interesting. And okay, so when we're doing the follow, and let's just see if that all works fine. If I let this return my perspective, which is not anymore. Okay, like that, and then moves back, and now it's all fine again. Versus it should work. Okay, when that does it, everything goes back to normal speed wise. So that's when camera handler does its set perspective. All this stuff happens. I goes stop following, stop following. But instead, if I do it myself, that's interesting. Alright, this is an episode of just fixing problems, pretty much. So that's the lerp camera transform, interpolation start position, interpolation start rotation, desired transform equals desired transform, interpolation time equals 0, distance to desired transform, the distance between the current position and where I want to go, T multiplier movement speed divided by distance to desired transform. So if I want to move it to 10 meters per second and I'm 5 meters away to, when is that used? So we're adding on, so 10 meters a second, 5 meters away. Try and take half a second. Half a second, say That's right. Let's take all this stuff out for a moment. Okay, and one. So it still happens without any of that. It's nothing to do with any of this then. So let's go to this one. So what have we got? We've got distance and T multiplier. Shoot. And alright. So that's been called multiple times as lerp2. 159 distance 3, so it should be happening in less than a second, but it's been called multiple times. Lerp camera transform gets called by set camera to main view. So what's calling this? Set perspective. What calls this? Hold on. Our reset camera check. Okay. That'll be what that is. Well, at least that was a new one, not an existing one that I only just picked up on. So shoot. 1. Okay. So what had happened was I just hadn't set this back to false, so it was still doing this. Obviously this was still below 0 and it was just calling set perspective every single frame, which is no good. Alright. Let's get rid of all our warnings and errors, keep it clean. And that's that. So now I can come in, set my shot up, go to main perspective and shoot. Blam. So that's working out a bit better now. I like that, that's cool. Full power. Smash. Wicked. Okay, and also I want to do something with I should make my main camera start at the right location, or perhaps do something like maybe I'll start it looking at the target and have it wait a few moments before it whips over to the correct, or the first weapon. Just give you a bit of time to look at what you're going to be doing. Alright, Well, that's covered pretty much what I wanted to cover. Resolve that issue. Now we can sort of move forward. Just done a couple of other tweaks. Being able to shoot from any perspective. Let's get that camera. Seems to do something a little bit funky when you. No, that's not too bad. And yeah, getting those dwarves to no longer enter an infinite loop. Yeah, if I left this running for some sort of sake test for a couple of days, I would probably see that error pop up a few times about the dwarves that roll heads or flip heads 10 times in a row, but not a really big deal. So next episode, get on to more gameplay stuff. Probably start thinking about putting together a little bit of a better fortress to work with and start thinking about that side of the game. I think Bliss is sort of getting to the point now where I need to get that ammo stuff sorted out, but it might be more fun to do that with a different weapon if we can wait that long, and instead focus on different elements like interface and some more gameplay stuff, trying to make the game fun. Alright, that will do it for this episode. I'll probably do another couple of episodes this weekend, so I'll post about probably the whole lot, sort of 13, 14, and any more episodes I do in the next couple of days. I'll post about those on the various places in one hit. So, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more fun episodes of Every Semicolon.